Otto's here, so I can't say anything too. But there's an updated one, and just so you know, and he'll say it when he comes in, one of them, the wages and such pertains to help buying a backhoe for the small, Bill's aware of this, the small repairs on the easements for the county instead of contracting with the different vendors. It's costing so much to have them just come to the site for a 15-minute job or half an hour to an hour job, I guess is a small job, what he considers. So there's two different ones in your packet. Option 1 is with the backhoe, and option 2 is without the backhoe. So just so you understand what's going on. The funding for the backhoe, Brandon's asked for money out of redevelopment, and also maybe some of the QCAP money that was there the one time for the microvote, that $50,000 that won't be used next year in QCAP is the other thing he's looking at. And also a request has gone to the commissioners out of CEDA funding. And then the other option was to just lease it for 2 years and then see how the program runs. So here's Brandon.
I think that was the recommendation of the Redevelopment Commission, said see about leasing
for 2 years.
Try it for 2 years to see if it works.
Did they get have a price for the lease?
Yes.
Brandon, I talked about you before. I brought them kind of up to speed.
Okay.
It's all on
It
film.
wasn't good, Brandon.
Brandon, it's all on film.
I'm sorry?
It wasn't good what
It
she talked
recorded
about.
it all.
That's okay.
I think basically what, I'm going back to the conversation now, but basically what you're going to ask for today is maintenance money to operate that thing.
Maintenance fuel, yeah, and which if we lease, there will be little or no maintenance money. We might need to add some lights to get it started, but it should come with yellow and red flashing lights, but
Who's going to operate this piece of equipment?
Mike Knafel, our new field man, he worked for Wilcoxon for 15 years. He wasn't an operator, but he's operated equipment before.
So you got time?
Well, yeah. And actually, it's gonna. It's gonna take some of his time, but there's times when he goes out and looks at a repair. Someone turns in a repair app, and he goes out and looks at it, and by the time he arranges for a contractor or meets them on site, he says, if I'd have just had a backhoe, I could have just dug down. And sometimes the joints on those old tiles open up and they start sucking, and all you do is you just dig down and put some Visqueen over it and cover it back up. So in those kind of cases,
What about a truck and trailer to get around with?
well, we've talked about that too. One option is to just road it, which is harder on tires. The plan there would be, a lot of our repair apps come in the spring and in the fall when the guys are planting and when they're harvesting. And so, we get a bunch of them come in the spring. We say, okay, we got 3 repairs in Smith Township. We'll go up, do all those, move over to Thorn Creek. We got 2 or 3 there, and it's not like we're going to go out and do a repair and then come back in every day. It would be my thought. The other option is looking, that has been asked, can we look at this option, is possibly a bigger truck. The truck we got now is a 3/4 ton, which you can't haul a backhoe with. Look at a 1-ton truck and a trailer. Now, Mr. Algebright said trailers are abundant, but the other option that I spoke with Mr. Amber yesterday was to have the highway department move it when it needs to be moved. So there's several options out there.
Brandon, what's the cost of this piece of equipment?
For a lease or purchase?
Both.
with another one coming in, which this one, the guy tells me was preliminary. They put it together real quick, but it should be close, about $980 a month. The second guy had quoted me basically a lease to own, or basically financing, you know, purchase of a new piece of equipment where you would pay for it, whether it be 2, 3, 4 years, and he's working up more of just a 2-year lease with an option to buy at the end, which is what the first guy. But both of these guys quoted me new prices at $74,300.
How much you spend a year for having independent guys come out and do it?
Well, I don't have that total.
But it can't be anywhere near 74.3.
Well, but that's, I mean, per year, no. But you take the life of a
How
backhoe,
much per year, roughly?
I don't have that number in front of me.
10,000?
We spend a lot more than $10,000 on
Every year?
drain repairs, yes.
When Frank was here, he talking about Busco, they lease one, they do a 2-year lease on them over there. They lease one for 2 years, and every 2 years they redo it. But the thought then on the redevelopment commission part was that, and Brandon kind of went along with this too, because he didn't know if it's gonna work, but he thinks it is. Lease it for 2 years and evaluate what you did, and see if it's something you want to continue to do, or if you want ownership or whatever, but give a 2-year opportunity to find out how it's working.
Adams County's been doing this for at least 12 years.
You leasing?
No, they bought a backhoe. In fact, they're getting ready to either buy or lease a new one.
So
The one
they're doing their own minor tile repair.
Right,
You talking about
You just-
backhoe or skin?
backhoe.
Counties is busy all the time.
Well, I don't know about that.
I mean, it just looks to me like we're,
You said you use it just spring and fall?
Well, not necessarily. I'm saying that's when the majority of our repair apps, farmers come in after plant and harvest, and, you know, that's when they discover they've got suck holes or breakdowns. So that's when the majority of the repair apps come in, is spring and fall.
okay, you're gonna use this person to dig it out, then who's gonna get down in that hole to fix it?
And that's where I've got proposed, that we get a part-time laborer and pay them out of the drain fund. That's what Adams County does, is they pay that person directly out of the drain maintenance fund. You know, we would, I mean, as a starting point, I've proposed like $12.50 an hour. I mean, it might take more than that, but, you know, when we get a bill from a contractor, or when we've got annual equipment rental rates, the average, I looked at for 2012 annual bids for equipment rental, the average labor rate is $35 an hour that we're paying contractors. And the average backhoe rate, or a backhoe or mini excavator, is $80 an hour. That's what we're paying them to do these minor repairs. And, you know, I looked at, for the last claim period, for 5 jobs that we felt we could have done with a backhoe, contractor's invoice amount was $9,600, and not counting the expense of the backhoe, but you still got material, and then using our field man and part-time labor, it was $4,700, $4,771. So we know we could do it for half.
Well,
At
depending
least.
on how you figure it.
Well,
It's not necessarily half, because then you got there's a lot of labor maintenance, and somebody's gonna change oil and do all this, right?
well, yeah.
When you can insure it.
That's right.
You've got all the cost of the employees, like to manage.
Liability.
We all know how fun it is to manage employees.
Well, but, I mean, there's not gonna be any more cost to manage the employee.
Brandon, would there still be some jobs that you'd have to hire outside the guy to do?
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. We're looking at jobs that are $1,000 or less, what we would pay a contractor, $1,000 or less. And of all the paid claims that we have in our database, which, you know, doesn't go back before 98, 60% of our paid claims have been less than $1,000. And 45% of those claims took longer than a year from the date of application to the date of final payment. And that could be a combination of things. You know, sometimes contractors we assign a job to a contractor because they're in the area. Well, they're busy making money running field tiles for farmers, and I mean, quite frankly, some guys don't, you know, they just don't like doing these little repairs when they can be out on a big job making good money. And some of what we're seeing is that we're paying for that. You know, it's not worth their time to come in and do a 2-hour job for $300. We used to have Alan Fugate did a lot of those repairs for us. He was retired and his backhoe was paid for, and he'd go do repairs for $200-300. But he sold his backhoe and fully retired, and we don't have anybody like him anymore. We've got Scott Stoner has picked up a lot of those small repairs, but you know, the bigger the company is, you know, I don't know what his financial situation is or anything, whether his equipment's paid for, but you got employees and overhead, and the repairs are more expensive on some of them. So I'm proposing we can do it quicker and cheaper.
There's no doubt in my mind that you're absolutely right on that, because them guys are they charge through the nose to come in and do stuff. You're gonna save a ton of money getting it done if you got the people that can get it done. You know, there's other things to look at, just the cost of the backhoe lease for 2 years.
We'd have to have some kind of liability insurance on that part-time helper.
You know, I've been involved enough, I know how it is. First thing, you can't get it done when you need it done. So it goes, and that year's probably pretty close to getting it done. You know, I don't know what the right answer, what the real answer is, but that part, there's no doubt in my mind, you're correct. But as far as, I'd like to see, but there's gotta be more cost though, I think, than what you know, you're gonna get in a pissing contest with the county getting this thing moved, so you're gonna end up driving it, which that's not a big deal. As long as you stay in get areas at a time. But then you're gonna dig one up, and then you're gonna have to run someplace and decide what you need to fix it, and one thing and another. So there's a lot of other things that's involved in it.
Well, sure. And, you know, sometimes we're already doing that, you know. Go out and meet a contractor and dig it up and see what you need, and then we're paying them to do the running.
Yeah,
to go
you're
get
absolutely
material
right.
and
they don't like to do
and
it.
then their equipment's sitting there and they don't like
Well,
that.
they just don't like them. If they're gonna do them kind of jobs, they charge through the nose. There ain't no doubt about it.
Well,
You know,
and
I've done hundreds of them myself.
You want the job?
No, I don't like to do it either. I'm too old for that kind of, you know, and I got a $7,500 backhoe. It's a piece of crap, but anyway, it gets the job done.
And then the other thing you haven't even mentioned is that if you do these specific related drains, you can pay for that money out of the drain maintenance, and you haven't told them that yet.
absolutely, and I've got money in the budget. If we go with this, I've got money in the budget for materials for startup, okay? I mean, you gotta have some pipe of various sizes and some fittings on hand so you can, you know, run somewhere in the county and get the material rather than having to run up to Ligonier, or not Ligonier, Leato. Yeah, you know, wherever. So, but as we use it, then we would charge that material back to the drain fund.
Does the highway department keep stuff on hand, that kind of stuff?
I don't know that they keep plastic on hand, and that's what we use, is dual wall plastic.
Can't we merge the highway and this project together somehow to where we already have the labor, we have the place for the materials, we have equipment?
Well, place for the, well, there is in the State Board of Accounts accounting guideline for drainage funds. It clearly states that the highway department cannot be used for drainage work. So that whole, even just using them to move, that's something that we would just, you know, I mean, we wouldn't be able to pay them to do that. That's the way I read it. It says you can't use the highway department for drainage work.
What IC code is that?
It's not IC code, it's the State Board of Accounts accounting manual for drainage funds.
Becky, what page you got, what page is that on where this additional funding from these other departments you looked at? Like Bill was talking about one thing and another. Is that on a paper somewhere
As far as,
for this backload money, lease deal, whatever you were talking about?
well, the lease, the Redevelopment Commission at least verbally committed 25% of the cost of the lease, or $6,000 for 2 years. And I spoke with Don, and he verbally told me that he would work to use seeded money for the balance. So, as far as the cost of the lease, I'm considering that that's taken care of.
Which one of these should we be looking at?
Can the drainage board use county highway labor to perform such work? No. That's on page 8-9 of.
Which one should we be looking at? Because we got option 1 with backhoe, option 2 without backhoe, and then an updated one.
An updated one. Is
At
that
the
the
one-
one where I added more money? I think the updated one is where I added more money because I didn't have enough money in there for fuel. My last year's budget was, or this year's budget was $5,000 for travel and mileage. That's for,
So you now at 7,500 is better?
right,
Okay.
yes.
Basically, what you're wasting money for fuel, and some money to buy, stockpile some material.
Right,
And
sure
a
it
part-time
could be done.
budget for somebody to help you.
right. But the material and the part-time would be reimbursed out of the maintenance fund as we use it.
So what would come out of here, basically, fuel.
Basically, it's fuel.
Brandon, I'd like to see you go back and see what you paid out last year on getting these fixed by private companies going out and fixing them. I'd like to see you combine that cost. Then I'd like you to sit down and take that same amount of fixed tiles that you fixed with the cost with a backhoe, say you're gonna go out here and lease a backhoe, pay your person to run the backhoe, pay another part-time full employee, or however you wanna do it. I want you to figure out the insurance. I want you to figure out what's gonna cost you to maintain that piece of equipment. I want a cost of a piece of a truck. If you're gonna go buy a truck, I wanna know the cost of the trailer. Then you come back and report, and then we'll talk about it. Right now, we're throwing figures around that nobody even knows. I mean, I understand what you're trying to do, but I wanna see if we're gonna save money by doing this or not. And then also,